The air inside the prison was heavy with despair, as if the very walls exhaled the suffocating atmosphere of lost hope. John Harrison, a man wrongfully accused of a heinous crime, found himself thrust into this abyss of despair. Innocent and trapped, he stepped into the depths of this hellish institution. John's heart pounded against his chest as the iron bars clanged shut behind him, sealing his fate. The harsh clang echoed through the corridors, a haunting reminder of the life he had left behind. The cell was damp, the stench of decay mixed with the scent of fear, clawing at his nostrils. As the days turned into weeks, John learned the unwritten rules of survival. He kept his head down, avoiding the predatory eyes of the seasoned criminals that prowled the cell block like wolves. But it wasn't long before the darkness claimed him. One stormy night, as the prison walls groaned under the weight of the tempest outside, whispers of an impending attack circulated through the ranks of the incarcerated. A sadistic inmate named Marcus, a hulking figure with a reputation for violence, had set his sights on John. It was said that Marcus enjoyed the pain of others, reveling in their anguish as if it were his lifeblood. The hours dragged on, and tension tightened like a noose around John's neck. Fear danced in his eyes, reflecting the flickering light of the cell block's dimly lit bulbs. The other prisoners, aware of the impending danger, recoiled, leaving John to face his fate alone. As the clock struck midnight, the cell block fell into an eerie silence. Whispers died, and shadows danced, conspiring with the darkness. John's heart raced, his breath shallow, as a cold dread washed over him. He knew that Marcus was drawing near, fueled by sadistic delight. Suddenly the cell door creaked open, unleashing Marcus and his minions into John's world. Their eyes gleamed with a malevolent hunger, their hands twitching with anticipation. The gleaming knives they brandished sent shivers down John's spine. A macabre dance of violence ensued, the clashing of metal against flesh drowning out John's cries for mercy. Blow after blow landed, each strike taking its toll on his battered body. Blood pooled beneath him, his vision blurred, but he refused to surrender his spirit to the darkness. In a desperate bid for survival, John's hands found an improvised weapon, a shard of broken glass, within reach. Summoning the last vestiges of his strength, he fought back with a newfound ferocity, slashing through the twisted bodies that encircled him. The element of surprise shifted, and fear twisted the faces of his attackers. A surge of adrenaline coursed through John's veins, emboldening his spirit. He fought like a man possessed, each strike fueled by the desperation to live, to escape this nightmarish ordeal. Finally, the guards, alerted by the commotion, rushed in, breaking up the savage melee. John lay on the cold floor, broken and battered, a grotesque testament to the horrors he had endured. His assailants were dragged away, their grins of sadistic pleasure replaced by masks of defeat. Months later, as John's wounds slowly healed, he became a beacon of resilience within the prison walls. The tale of his survival spread, a whispered legend of a man who defied the darkness and emerged victorious. The prisoners whispered his name with a mix of awe and trepidation, for they knew that John Harrison possessed an indomitable spirit that refused to be broken. With each passing day, John's influence grew within the prison. He became a beacon of hope for those who had lost all semblance of it. The downtrodden found solace in his words, seeking his guidance and protection. John used his newfound position to forge alliances, to create a semblance of safety amidst the chaos. But even in the midst of his newfound respect, John knew that the horrors of the prison were far from over. Marcus and his loyal followers seethed with a burning desire for revenge, their twisted minds plotting their next move. One moonless night, as the prison slumbered under a shroud of darkness, a sinister plan unfolded. Marcus and his cohorts crept through the corridors, their footsteps as silent as shadows. They were determined to extinguish the flicker of hope that John had ignited. Unbeknownst to them, however, John had been preparing for their inevitable return. He had formed a band of loyal allies, prisoners who had grown tired of living under the oppressive rule of Marcus and his ilk. They were ready to defend their newfound sanctuary, their fortress of defiance. The clash was imminent, the clash between light and darkness, between hope and despair. The prison became a battleground, the echoes of struggle reverberating through its corridors. Blood spilled once again, screams of pain mingling with the cacophony of violence. In the heart of the chaos, John faced Marcus head-on, their eyes locked in a battle of wills. Each blow exchanged between them was a testament to their indomitable spirits, their refusal to surrender to the malevolence that threatened to consume them. With every ounce of strength and determination, John's blade found its mark, piercing through the darkness that enveloped Marcus's soul. The sadistic tyrant fell, defeated and broken, while the remnants of his followers scattered like rats. Victory, however, came at a heavy cost. The prison walls were stained with blood, and the scars etched on John's body and mind would forever bear witness to the horrors he had endured. But he had prevailed, rising above the brutality that had sought to claim his life. In the aftermath, the prison underwent a profound transformation. The guards, awakened to the corruption that had festered within their institution, purged the remnants of darkness that remained. Reforms were implemented, and the prison became a place of redemption, striving to rehabilitate rather than destroy. John Harrison, once a victim of circumstance, became an emblem of resilience and triumph. His story transcended the confines of the prison walls, inspiring others to rise above their own demons and find the strength to forge a new path. And as the years passed, the legend of John Harrison lived on, a reminder that even within the darkest depths, the flicker of hope could ignite a blaze that would consume the shadows, forever altering the course of those who dared to believe in the power of the human spirit. Deep within the bowels of an ancient prison, tucked away in the most desolate corner, lay a solitary cell. It was a place of perpetual darkness and suffocating silence. Within its confines, an unfortunate soul named Michael Collins had been condemned to solitary confinement. Michael had been a man of troubled past, haunted by his demons and consumed by guilt. The isolation cell, with its stark walls and iron bars, seemed like an apt reflection of his tormented soul. As the heavy door slammed shut, the world outside ceased to exist for him. Days turned into weeks, and weeks into months. Time became an elusive concept, slipping through Michael's grasp like smoke. The only companions he had were the whispers that danced in his mind, twisted echoes of his own thoughts. In the beginning, Michael fought against the seclusion, clinging to his sanity like a lifeline. He tried to keep a routine, marking the days on the walls with crude etchings. But the oppressive silence gnawed at his mind, its weight pressing down on him until he could hardly breathe. Within the darkness, shadows took on monstrous forms. Every sound, real or imagined, became amplified, tormenting his senses. The drip of water from a distant pipe transformed into the echoing footsteps of a malevolent specter. The scratching of rats against the walls morphed into whispered threats that taunted him. Sleep became elusive, for even in slumber, nightmares clawed at his consciousness. Visions of his past misdeeds plagued him, intertwining with vivid hallucinations. Faces of those he had wronged materialized before him, their accusing eyes piercing his soul. Days blurred into a haze of despair as Michael's grip on reality loosened. His mind played cruel tricks, distorting his perception of time and space. Shadows seemed to dance in macabre revelry, whispering secrets he could never decipher. His once well-kempt appearance deteriorated, his unkempt hair and disheveled clothing mirroring the chaos within. His voice grew hoarse from disuse, the silence punctuated only by the occasional moans of anguish that escaped his lips. One fateful night, as the moon cast its pale glow through the tiny window of his cell, a new presence emerged. It slithered through the cracks, its essence insidious and malevolent. The whispers in Michael's mind grew louder, more insistent, urging him to surrender to the madness that beckoned. His resistance waned, his tenuous grasp on reality slipping through his trembling fingers. He began conversing with the shadows, embracing their twisted company. They offered solace in their familiarity, feeding his descent into the depths of his own fractured psyche. Michael's once coherent thoughts became a cacophony of disjointed fragments. He scribbled feverishly on the walls, incoherent ramblings that only he could decipher. His hands, trembling with madness, etched dark symbols, summoning forces he could not comprehend. The prison guards, aware of his deteriorating condition, feared the cell that had claimed so many minds. They whispered among themselves, recounting tales of previous prisoners who had succumbed to the same malevolent presence that now gripped Michael. And then, one fateful morning, as the guards opened the cell door, they found a broken man. Michael Collins lay curled in the corner, his eyes vacant, the remnants of his sanity shattered. He no longer recognized his own reflection, lost in a labyrinth of madness from which there was no escape. News of Michael's descent into madness spread like wildfire through the prison walls, shrouding the isolation cell in an air of dread. The guards deemed it a cursed place, haunted by an unseen force that preyed on the minds of the confined. Prison officials, unnerved by the growing legends surrounding the isolation cell, took measures to investigate the cause of the madness that had claimed Michael's sanity. They enlisted the help of psychologists and paranormal experts, seeking answers to the enigma that gripped their prison. In the following months, the prison became a hub of activity, as specialists delved into the secrets hidden within the isolation cell. They scrutinized every inch, examining the walls, the floor, and even the air itself for signs of an otherworldly presence. Their investigations unearthed unsettling findings. The cell was found to be located on an ancient burial ground, its walls steeped in the echoes of long-forgotten torments. The combination of isolation, guilt, and the residual energy of the past had transformed the cell into a breeding ground for madness. Determined to cleanse the prison of this supernatural menace, the officials initiated rituals of purification. Sage was burned, incantations chanted, and protective symbols etched onto the walls. They hoped to banish the malevolent forces that had plagued the isolation cell for far too long. As the rituals took place, a palpable shift was felt within the prison walls. The atmosphere grew lighter, and the whispers that had once plagued the minds of the confined grew faint. A sense of relief washed over the inmates, as if a weight had been lifted from their shoulders. In the midst of this transformation, another prisoner, Daniel Reynolds, was placed in the same isolation cell that had consumed Michael's sanity. Daniel, unaware of the cell's dark history, found himself in a vortex of despair and isolation. The prison officials, having been preoccupied with the rituals, failed to realize the danger that Daniel was now facing. As the days passed, Daniel's mental state deteriorated rapidly. Shadows seemed to move with a life of their own, whispering malevolently in his ear. He became ensnared in a nightmare from which there was no awakening. In a cruel twist of fate, Daniel's descent into madness mirrored Michael's. The same torment that had claimed one man's sanity now consumed another. The guards, stricken with remorse, scrambled to intervene, but it was too late. Daniel was lost to the darkness, forever trapped in the labyrinth of his own shattered mind. The prison officials, haunted by their failure to protect the vulnerable, vowed to never subject another prisoner to the horrors of the isolation cell. The cell was sealed off, deemed a forbidden chamber, a grim reminder of the dangers that lurked within the depths of the human psyche. Years passed, and the legend of the haunted isolation cell lived on, whispered among the inmates as cautionary tales. The prison itself underwent a transformation, implementing new policies to prioritize the mental well-being of its prisoners. Therapy, counseling, and support systems were put in place to prevent further descents into madness. But even as the prison moved forward, the spirits of Michael Collins and Daniel Reynolds lingered, trapped between the realms of the living and the dead. Their tortured souls forever intertwined with the cell that had claimed their sanity. And within the confines of that cursed chamber, the whispers continued, a haunting echo of the tormented souls who had fallen victim to the darkness. Deep in the heart of a foreboding prison, nestled amidst the gloom, resided a man named Thomas Evans. Condemned to death row for a crime he claimed he did not commit, he found himself entangled in the clutches of a chilling fate. As the day of his execution loomed, a shroud of darkness settled upon his weary shoulders. The grim anticipation filled the air as Thomas was escorted through the labyrinthine corridors. His footsteps echoed eerily, a dissonant symphony of impending doom. Each step brought him closer to the cold embrace of the execution chamber, where his life would be snuffed out like a fragile flame. As he passed by the cells of fellow inmates, their gazes reflected a mix of pity and trepidation. They were well aware of the cruel finality that awaited Thomas, a haunting reminder of their own mortality. The whispers of the imprisoned souls followed him, their collective voices suffocating his thoughts. The journey to death row seemed interminable, the oppressive silence broken only by the clanking of heavy chains and the distant echoes of the prison guard's footsteps. Thomas felt the weight of his impending demise pressing upon him, gnawing at his sanity like a ravenous beast. Finally, he arrived at the entrance of the death chamber. The doors, adorned with faded symbols of justice, creaked open, revealing a scene straight from the depths of nightmares. The room was dimly lit, its air heavy with the scent of despair and the residue of countless lives extinguished. The executioner, an ominous figure shrouded in darkness, awaited Thomas. Clad in a black robe, their face concealed beneath a sinister mask, they exuded an aura of cold indifference. Their eyes, peering through the mask's hollow sockets, seemed to gleam with a perverse pleasure. Thomas was strapped onto the cold metallic gurney, his body rendered immobile. The restraints dug into his flesh, a cruel reminder of the imminent horror that awaited him. A cocktail of fear and resignation surged through his veins, threatening to consume his very soul. As the executioner prepared the lethal injection, a sense of dread descended upon Thomas. The room seemed to distort, its walls closing in like a suffocating embrace. Shadows danced along the periphery, taking grotesque shapes that mocked his impending demise. The needle pierced his skin, delivering the potent concoction that would usher him into the void. Thomas felt a cold numbness spread through his veins, as if death itself was already claiming him. The room blurred, his vision fading into darkness. But something inexplicable occurred. Time stood still, as if the universe itself held its breath. The air grew suffocatingly thick, an invisible presence lurking just beyond the threshold of perception. Thomas became acutely aware of a presence in the chamber, an otherworldly force that defied explanation. Whispers, soft and sinister, filled the void. They reverberated within his mind, their words echoing through the corridors of his shattered consciousness. They spoke of injustice, of lives cut short, and of the chilling secrets hidden within the prison's walls. In the midst of this ethereal symphony of voices, Thomas sensed a glimmer of hope, a flickering ember amidst the encroaching darkness. Summoning every ounce of strength, he fought against the paralyzing effects of the lethal injection, as if his very willpower had been ignited by the spectral chorus. In a burst of defiance, Thomas tore himself free from the restraints that had bound him. The executioner, taken aback by this unexpected turn of events, stumbled backward, their composure shattered. Chaos erupted within the chamber as the echoes of rebellion reverberated through the air. Thomas, fueled by a newfound determination, lunged at the executioner, his desperation giving him strength. The two figures collided, their struggle an embodiment of the battle between life and death. The mask of the executioner slipped, revealing a face twisted by malevolence and the cruelty of their profession. The room became a battleground of frenzied violence. Thomas fought with a ferocity born of desperation, while the executioner retaliated with calculated precision. Blows landed, each strike a testament to the primal instinct for survival. Amidst the chaos, the whispers grew louder, swirling in a crescendo of spectral voices. They seemed to rally behind Thomas, their ethereal support bolstering his resolve. In the face of imminent death, he found an unyielding determination to uncover the truth, to expose the corruption that had led him to this terrifying precipice. With a surge of adrenaline, Thomas managed to overpower the executioner, delivering a final decisive blow. The once menacing figure crumpled to the ground, defeated and motionless. Thomas gasped for breath, his body trembling with exertion and disbelief. The room fell into an eerie silence, broken only by the raspy sound of Thomas's breath. The whispers that had accompanied him on this harrowing journey gradually subsided, fading back into the ethereal realm from which they had emerged. He was left standing amidst the aftermath of his resistance, his heart pounding within the hollow chamber. Realizing that his battle was far from over, Thomas mustered his strength and embarked on a desperate escape. He navigated the labyrinthine corridors, evading guards and eluding capture. Every step he took was fueled by the fear of being recaptured and the burning desire for justice. As he emerged into the cold night air, a sense of freedom washed over him. The world outside the prison walls, though unfamiliar, held the promise of a fresh start. Determined to unveil the truth and expose the corruption that had nearly claimed his life, Thomas vowed to uncover the secrets that lay buried within the prison's depths. In the days that followed, he embarked on a relentless pursuit of justice. He gathered evidence, pieced together the puzzle of his wrongful conviction, and brought the truth to light. The once impervious walls of the prison crumbled under the weight of the damning revelations. Thomas's story became a beacon of hope for those wronged by the system, an inspiration for the oppressed and voiceless. His unwavering resilience and triumph over the darkness that had threatened to consume him stood as a testament to the indomitable spirit of the human soul. But deep within the prison, the whispers continued. They spoke of the countless lives lost, the horrors that still lingered, and the specters that would forever haunt its corridors. The echoes of injustice remained, a chilling reminder of the prison's dark legacy. And as Thomas fought for justice, a part of him wondered if he had truly escaped the clutches of the supernatural forces that had plagued his death row experience. The whispers, though faint, seemed to linger at the edge of his consciousness, a reminder of the horrors he had faced and the price he had paid for his freedom.